The Cavalier Monthly Cheat Sheet. It's all done, I've worked on it over the weekend and it is ready to showcase. So if you guys aren't familiar with what I've done in the past, for Variant 6 and some other content, I created this thing called the Cheat Sheet, which basically takes together all the informations of counters to respective different nodes and allows you to have a list of champions that you can take in against the content to be the perfect counters and effectively be cheats, but it's not really. It's just all about good practice and load a list of stuff. It's lists basically. And with these new Cavalier nodes, I thought it'd be a good idea to put together a list of champions to take on the respective content. Not just the ones that interact with the path nodes, but also other examples of champions that bypass those nodes, but also other options that help to just smack down the nodes, as they are restrictive but not. So I've got a long list of champions. We're going to go over this particular spreadsheet, which can be found in the RichTheMan Discord. If you don't know, I've got a Discord. We've got over 2,100 members, and in this particular room, which is listed as event and side quest, you just click on it, it will take you to there, and then what you do is you find it by going to the very top, this little pin thing that's just above my head here where it says pinned messages, drops down and you're able to click on some of the resources. We are expanding and we're doing more with these type of rooms, including like a guide index for a lot of videos like this I've posted. So make sure to join the Discord. But without further ado, let's begin. As we know, Cavalier difficulty has recently come round and it's had these changes, or these additions, so to speak. But the nodes are always going to be the same. There will be a top part of interaction and there'll be a bottom half of the interaction. So for example, with Science, this month it's Vexing Blight, where Science attackers gain an indefinite passive fury, increasing attack rating by 20% every time they remove a poison effect or immune to one. And then we've got Contagion, which is the second part of this interaction. Whenever the defender is struck or blocks an attack, there's a 20% chance to inflict the attacker with a poison debuff, dealing 100% of the defender's modified attack as direct damage over 10 seconds. Now, one might say there's a few scuffy kinds of interaction, especially with having like Ebony Maw and Electro on the same path, but there are sufficient counters to the measures that have been put in place. That's why I've said on the counters that any poison immune works, but you can use these listed. So with Quake, you're not going to touch, and that is a science-based champion. Immortal Abomination is has poison interaction, so he's not totally poison immune, but his interaction is quite important to the way that the champion works. Hulk and Immortal Hulk, they're both poison immune. I think it's more for like Gladiator Hulk. I think I recommend that with against the Standard Hulk. Nothing against Standard Hulk. I just think that you'd probably find more damage output for your Gladiator Hulk than you would for your Standard Hulk. Human Torch, high rates of damage, incinerate damage, great interactions against some mystics. Red Guardian and Abomination, if you like working together two champions, then do that. You have Eastern Blocker synergy, which ramps up the damage of Abomination for poison, and as well Red Guardian is great with a slow debuff. If you are reaching or facing off against champions that have evade based abilities, then that can be great off the SP1 and less restrictive for you for scope of debuffs. And then there's also Void. I've not listed Void in here, but that's mainly because I've not really enjoyed that kind of idea of kind of keeping distance. But yeah, Void still works. She-Hulk, poison immune. Yeah, that's a great champion. Slow debuff off of the heavy attack. Nice. And then you got your others. You got poison interaction or conversion with Ghost. Warlock is better with the Age of Ultron version. Let's face it, if you're getting poisoned, then you'll get that Fury buff. Mysterio works as well. Medusa, Cat Marvel Movie, Hyperion, Ronan, Iceman, Omega Red, Dragonman, Black Widow, Clairvoyant. The list goes on of available champions that interwork well, whether or not they are poison immune, can get that or interwork or interact with it. You can get some great non-poison options. So that's how I've done this, is that there's stuff that interacts with the node, but then there's stuff that can work in conjunction with it. That it's not just about using those champions. And do bear in mind, this is based on anything can happen each month. So next month, you can use this. It's not just about the month of February. It's all about March, April, May, continue on as long as we have these nodes. From a tech perspective, this nanite healing is one of the key factors to these enemies. They are gaining health, which is kind of annoying. So you need something that's going to be able to stop it in its place, and that's where the tech line comes in. So with Infectious Wrath being tech attackers gain an indefinite passive fury, increasing attack rating by 35% whenever the defender tries to gain health, while Heal Block Max stacks 10, gaining fury in the way that has 1 second cooldown. Engineered fracture, whenever attacker inflicts a defender with an armor break debuff, the defender is also inflicted with a passive heal block for 10 seconds. That's great. And champions that have those armor breaks or have something that interacts with healing are massively effective. I got to be honest, my favorite of this was utilizing Hulkbuster. I thought he was great, especially with specials. Getting armor break interacted well with the engineered fracture, and as well with the infectious wrath, healing at the end of it. Honestly, one of my MVPs for the tech side of things. Warlock with the SP2 will get you that armor break. That would be good for engineered fractured. Starlord with the SP2 armor break is based on that gun, the element gun. Again, luck, but it's not a great thing. SP1 for Sentinel is probably one of the best options. Iron Man Infinity War with heavy attack or specials. Punisher 2099 with the SP2. So again, that's an option. But it's not just about that. You can have yourself a Cap Infinity War with a tech team and have Petrify utilized when you have good parts of that leadership of, if you at least at 200 signature Cap Infinity War. It's great. Honestly, it's great for it. And then you've got Archangel as well. But I think any defender that can like throw a like any attacker that can throw a good amount of damage, heal blocking can be really effective against this, especially with Archangel with like what he does to suppress healing. You could potentially use Guillotine, standard Guillotine with the SP2, but again, it's down to player perspective on that. I just think it's nice to play into bringing a tech, and even though this is quite one of the most restrictive ones, I think there's some good tech champions you can utilize for that. Okay, the Cosmic one, this was actually one of my most favorite ones of the month, especially if you're utilizing the right champion for the job. This is all about finding champions that are armor breaking, and it's pretty simple stuff. Mystic Ward is down, which is again fine because this is all about doing more of the armor breaking factor to stuff, and there are some decent cosmics on offer for this. So cracking the armor, each time a cosmic attacker lands an attack, they have a 10% chance for each armor break on the defender to gain indefinite passive fury, increasing attack rating by 35%. Tough as nails, every 3 seconds the defender gains a permanent armor up buff, increasing armor rating as 20% per stack. When the defender is struck, reset the timer for creating an armor up buff max 5 stacks. Now, you can go down the route of using stagger. It's not just about the armor break. There are staggering options and potentially nullify, but you do run the risk, and I think Kabam will probably keep that 95% chance to fail with enemy nullifying. So there's going to be options of stagger. I think is probably going to be the best really for this. But look, you got Medusa, you got Medusa with the medium, Terex with the SP1 and Rockfield, and you got Fourth Light refresh for the armor break, Corvus with the well-timed block, Cosmic Ghost Rider SP2, Hyperion SP2. Obsidian, Venom, Red Goblin, Ronan. I think those are amongst 4 of the most effective because it's easy to do. You know, parry heavy, parry heavy, parry heavy. But then Medusa is kind of effective because you've got that Armor Shattered, and Armor Shattered can work just as well. I don't know if I've added... Yes, I have added Arcus with the SP1. Okay, now onto one of the most restrictive-ish kind of setups, and that is the skill side of things. On the skill side of things, there's Can't Touch This, which is defender has a passive 50% chance to evade all attacks in addition to any base abilities. Now, I assume that all of this stuff is going to remain the same next month, especially with the interaction, rather than it being completely jumbled up. And that's the thing. I would be annoyed if I've done this and I'll have to then delete it in a month's time because everything's jumbled up. However, though, it seems like this will remain the same, especially with the interaction being so specific, and especially with this stuff like Can't Touch This. So, counters for that. Now, with this, it's a case skillful distraction, skill. And how does this all look with the interaction? Well, skillful distraction skill attackers prevent the defender's evadability, but while the defender is suffering from a disorientate, incinerate, or shock debuff. Then Mind's Eye skill attackers gain indefinite passive fury. So when we suppress the evade effect, you get a fury. But what champions interact the best? Well, there's 3 options for this. You either play into the narrative of the node, you either go slow debuff, or you go true strike. And those will be the best ones to kind of deal with the situation. So, Black Widow Deadly Origin, a complete MVP. Love that champion at the moment. And Mole Man with the SP1, Shock. Black Widow Deadly Origin is the easiest one, just hit into the champion and you're shocking the champion, which again suppresses the evade. Then you got Night Thrasher, SP1 Incinerate, Gwenpool, SP1 Incinerate. Funnily enough, I'm using this right now, or I've just used this in my 4-star Cavalier objective grind. And it worked fine. Parry a few times and just like hit out when it's possible to the SP1. It's nice. Crossbones SP2, bit too long to build up. And now we go down a different route of Sorcerer Supreme, slow debuff, where champion, when it's in the Ican mode, I want to say, the purple one is able to kind of do slow debuff off of specials. Dragonman SP1 slow debuff, Nick Fury after 8 tactical charges. Karnak SP1 True Strike. We did a what if video on the weekend of that champion. She-Hulk slow debuff with a heavy attack. Again, that's effective as well. Spider Gwen slow debuff of the heavy. Storm Pyramid X of the SP1. But you can then do other stuff. Like, it's not specific to that because I used Archangel in that particular mode and did parry heavy with that. Doom. Domino with the Red Hulk synergy, parry heavy, does incinerate damage. Again, you're just ticking damage down. You don't need to worry too much about the evade. Warlock, power heavy. Void, don't touch, keep your distance. Do debuffs, and champion has a slow debuff worked into the chance of, I think, some of the champion's abilities. So that works as well. Right, now on to the mutant side of things. This month, the biggest interaction point was with, well, nothing really, like, it's nothing to really worry about. Just Scratch, I think, is the third thing that comes with this. Every time the defender is struck, they have a 20% chance to passively regenerate. 90% of damage received over 0.75 seconds. This will not trigger if the defender's regeneration rate is inverted or if the attacker is under an effect of a regeneration buff or passive, which interworks with the two types of mutant node abilities, which is that healing factor. Each hit in the special attack of an attacking mutant champion has 30% chance to grant a passive regeneration healing, 2% of the base health over 10 seconds. This chance increases by 70% if the attacker has a prowess buff or passive. Relentless Mutation, mutant attackers gain indefinite fury passive, increasing attack rating by 35%. Every time they gain a regeneration buff or passive, max 10 stacks. So you can either play into the narrative of getting that prowess buff, which a lot of champions have. Emma Frost, Abomination, Apocalypse is the one I was going to be referring to. That's probably one of the best. Yeah, Emma Frost, Apocalypse. Who's the other one? There's several others that got the prowess buff, and you can play into that. To be honest, and I've got to be really honest, you won't need to worry about any of that. And any mutant really will do to interact with anything. I think I ended up using Apocalypse because of the prowess buff side of things, and as well the fact that he's got just the Horseman synergy. By the end of it, when I got up to the likes of the end boss, which this month was Mr. Sinister, just popping the Horseman synergy just plow through the content. But there are other options. Strife goes from battle to battle, really effective champion for damage output. You've got Sunspot, Colossus, Omega Red, Domino, Magneto, which is good against #metal. Archangel, as we said, Namor, again, just great damage, and you're ramping up those special attacks. When you're doing that, it allows you better opportunity to regen and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just don't think there's any issue to be honest with this particular one. It will just be about who you're bringing in for the bosses each month. So that's going to be the key thing. Okay, let's talk about the final one. Now, I don't know if Kabam will plan to do this on a monthly basis, but if they do, this is why I want to keep people prepared for what Kabam can have expected if you are kind of thinking about what's the best team to really use for this. And that is that persistent pressure, which is defenders under the effect of Unstoppable become stun immune. This includes unstoppable effects triggered outside the node. Every 15 seconds, a defender gains an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds. The duration of the buff is reduced by 0.5 seconds for each prowess, buff, or passive the attacker has. So the more passives, the more prowess you have, the better it is going to be for the interaction. That is the key thing. If Kabam plan to keep that on, if they don't, then great. But this is why I wanted to keep everybody prepared for stuff, and that's why I've gone for the setup that I have to interact with Unstoppable as more of a priority side of things, because it is annoying, like every 15 seconds to be concentrating on like, okay, now he's going to go Unstoppable, and especially with some champions that are more annoying than others. Prowess increasing special attack damage by 80% for 15 seconds. Nullifying a buff from the defender converts all temporary prowess of passives into indefinite ones. So that's part of like what you get from the node is a positive thing for you. But yeah, and as I said here, I feel that Unstoppable Suppression is better. Dr. Doom's heavy attack gives a stagger. Sorcerer Supreme does a slow debuff, which I think, again, is very effective. If you're starting the fight in that pre-fight, then that massively helps. She was so much of a great champion for this month, and I'm probably going to rotate her more into usage, which is annoying because I love my Scarlet Witch, but I don't think I'm going to be able to use her more in this if this is how Kabam are going with this. Dragonman's SP1 does a slow debuff. Again, this is all about suppressing the Unstoppable. Black Widow Clairvoyant nullifies. Again, very handy. Sasquatch's heavy attacks. Stagger, what comes from there. Symbiote Supremes with Null's Shadow. Thor, Jane Foster with heavy attacks, again for stagger. Juggernaut heavy attacks, again for stagger. Cap Infinity War nullifies with charges, that's the Unstoppable side of things. She-Hulk with a heavy attack. Spider-Gwen, slow debuff with a heavy attack. And Storm Pyramid X, SP1 with a slow debuff. Now, the great thing about this is it can be adapted and changed, especially how Kabam may change stuff with the Cavalier difficulty in the Cavalier nodes. But I think this is a very good start point and will help out players. I've changed color schemes here and there because they don't necessarily reflect on the true interaction of the node, which is the reason I've done these colors a bit kind of like garish. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good thing to go off. If anybody wants to take this and adapt it, please do. And as I said, you can pick up this particular spreadsheet here in the event and side quest tab, which is on the left hand side, and then go to pinned messages here, and that's where you can grab it. Also, just quickly, I want to give a shout out to junores.sk/MCOC. This site is amazing. It has all the info that I need. I did a little bit of research with the in-game stuff, but a lot of stuff when it comes to preparing this information. It literally saved me a bunch of times. It did take hours to put together this particular spreadsheet, but man, this site was amazing, and I can't thank it enough. So people behind it, mad love to them. And yeah, make sure to hit the like button. Thanks very much for supporting this video and watching it. Please share it to people that you might think this could be helpful, or the links to the Discord. Also, check out some recent content posted up there, which was the Marvel Contest of Champions news. I'm going to try and develop more videos like this because I think they're really cool and can be really helpful. If you'd like to see more, then make sure to hit the like button as well. Let me know in the comments section. We've got a whole list of videos still to make, and they're on the Discord. And I'll see you in a new video tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.